Hello, this is day 90 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every day. 10 more days. We are on Paradiso, Canto 23, which I'll read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. Even as a bird, mid the beloved leaves, quiet upon the nest of her sweet brood throughout the night that hideth all things from us, who, that she may behold their longed-for looks, and find the food wherewith to nourish them, in which, to her, grave labors grateful are, anticipates the time on open spray, and with an ardent longing waits the sun, gazing intent as soon as breaks the dawn. Even thus my lady standing was, erect and vigilant, turned round towards the zone underneath which the sun displays less haste. So that beholding her distraught and wistful, such I became as he is who desiring for something yearns, and hoping is appeased. But brief the space from one when to the other, of my awaiting, say I, and the seeing the welkin grow resplendent more and more. And Beatrice exclaimed, Behold the hosts of Christ's triumphal march, and all the fruit harvested by the rolling of these spheres. It seemed to me her face was all aflame, and eyes she had so full of ecstasy that I must needs pass on without describing. As when in nights serene of the full moon smiles Trivia among the nymphs eternal who paint the firmament through all its gulfs, saw I, above the myriads of lamps, a sun that one and all of them enkindled, even as our own doth the supernal sights. And through the living light transparent shone the lucent substance so intensely clear into my sight that I sustained it not. O Beatrice, thou gentle guide and dear, to me she said, what overmasters thee a virtue is from which naught shields itself. There are the wisdom and the omnipotence that oped the thoroughfares twixt heaven and earth, for which there erst had been so long a yearning. As fire from out a cloud unlocks itself, dilating so it finds not room therein, and down against its nature falls to earth, so did my mind among those elements becoming larger issue from itself, and that which it became cannot remember. Open thine eyes, and look at what I am. Thou hast beheld such things, that strong enough hast thou become to tolerate my smile. I was as one who still retains the feeling of a forgotten vision, and endeavors in vain to bring it back into his mind. When I this invitation heard, deserving of so much gratitude, it never fades out of the book that chronicles the past. If at this moment sounded all the tongues that Polyhymnia and her sisters made most lubrical with their delicious milk to aid me, to 1,000th of the truth it would not reach, singing the holy smile and how the holy aspect it illumed. And therefore, representing paradise, the sacred poem must perforce leap over, even as a man who finds his way cut off. But whoso thinketh of the ponderous theme, and of the mortal shoulder laden with it, should blame it not, if under this it tremble. It is no passage for a little boat, this which goes cleaving the audacious prow, nor for a pilot who would spare himself. Why doth my face so much enamour thee, that to the garden fair thou turnest not, which under the rays of Christ is blossoming? There is the rose in which the word divine became incarnate. There the lilies are, by whose perfume the good way was discovered. Thus Beatrice, and I, who to her counsels was wholly ready, once again betook me unto the battle of the feeble brows. As in the sunshine, that unsullied streams through fractured cloud, ere now a meadow of flowers mine eyes with shadow covered over have seen, so troops of splendors manifold I saw, illumined from above with burning rays, beholding not the source of the effulgence. O power benignant that dost so imprint them, thou didst exalt thyself to give more scope there to mine eyes that were not strong enough. The name of that fair flower I ever invoke, morning and evening, utterly enthralled my soul to gaze upon the greater fire. And when in both mine eyes depicted were the glory and greatness of the living star which there excelleth as it here excelled, athwart the heavens a little torch descended, formed in a circle like a coronal, and cinctured it, and whirled itself about it. Whatever melody most sweetly soundeth on earth, and to itself most draws the soul, would seem a cloud that, rent asunder, thunders, compared unto the sounding of that lyre, wherewith was crowned the sapphire beautiful, which gives the clearest heaven its sapphire hue. I am angelic love, that circle round the joy sublime which breathes from out the womb that was the hostelry of our desire. And I shall circle, Lady of Heaven, while thou followest thy Son, and makest diviner the sphere supreme, because thou enterest there. Thus did the circulated melody seal itself up, and all the other lights were making to resound the name of Mary. The regal mantle of the volumes all of that world, which most fervid is and living with breath of God, and with his works and ways, extended over us in its inner border, so very distant that the semblance of it there where I was not yet appeared to me. Therefore mine eyes did not possess the power of following the incoronated flame, which mounted upward near to its own seed. And as a little child that towards its mother stretches its arms when it the milk has taken, through impulse kindled into outward flame, each of those gleams of whiteness upward reached, so with its summit, that the deep affection they had for Mary was revealed to me. Thereafter they remained there in my sight, Regina Caeli, singing with such sweetness that never from me has the delight departed. Oh, what exuberance is garnered up within those richest coffers, which had been good husbandmen for sowing here below. There they enjoy and live upon the treasure which was acquired while weeping in the exile of Babylon, wherein the gold was left. There triumpheth, beneath the exalted Son of God and Mary in his victory, both with the ancient council and the new, he who doth keep the keys of such a glory. So above Dante, Beatrice announces, here comes Christ with the entire church triumphant, that is, all the blessed souls that are in heaven. I suppose we are meant to understand that the souls from the spheres below can be in two places at once, or that these are just different souls. I'm not sure which in this case. Dante strains his eyes to look at Jesus himself, who's, in a way, concealed by light, just as all the other souls are. That's a problem of Dante's. He's unable to, make him out with his mortal eyes. But then also, after he's given that some effort and looks away, Beatrice says, okay, now you are able to look at my smile without perishing. And so she smiles for him. And so he describes it very briefly. Much more briefly than you would have expected from a courtly love poem about, beholding the beautiful lady. No, he basically glosses over. He says, nah, it was just too beautiful. We're just going to skip over that and move on with the rest of the story. He begs our forgiveness for his inability to write of it, but yeah, he kind of moves on. So, this is a good opportunity to examine the idea that this is a courtly love poem that rejects all the standards of courtly love. I think he passes. I think that instead of, say, the Romance of the Rose, where the embrace of the loved one is what is sought, and once it's had, it's just kind of ends, kind of anticlimactic. In comparison, this subject of love, Beatrice, she leads the lover to Christ, not just to herself, but to the highest possible good. Viewing and experiencing her beauty is not the end, not an end in itself, not the point of the journey, but just a step along the way to even higher goods, higher delights. That is God himself. So I'd say that the Divine Comedy stands up to scrutiny. If you can call it a courtly love poem, then it's a unique one that spits in the face of all the rest of them in the best way possible. Then after he looks at her smiling face, she urges him to look back up again. Again, she is really the least difficult thing to look at in the rest of the journey here. Now he's really contemplating the highest things. And she directs his attention to the Virgin Mary, who is now also visible, but in the same way as Jesus was, in that he can't really make her out through the light. All the souls and angels that are here, including, according to Mark Musa, Gabriel, comes down and acts as the crown upon her head. They praise her constantly and very highly. They have such great love for her. And this is important to understand. Catholics honor Mary like the way the Jews honored the Ark of the Covenant, right? The dwelling place of God, right? Not God itself, but boy, is it worthy of reverence, yes. But the other interesting thing to discuss about Mary and Jesus being amongst these fixed stars where Dante can see them is the fact that both of them, according to tradition and scripture, are here with their bodies. Jesus ascended into heaven, body and soul. Mary was assumed at the end of her earthly life, body and soul into heaven. I'm drawn back to the sphere of the sun, where I believe Solomon answers the question of Will you shine brighter or not as bright when you have your bodies back? And so they do, because we have two examples of it here, Mary and Jesus. So much so that even though they're technically physical and spiritual here, Dante's mortal eyes cannot make them out, except as, masses of light, which he's seen in all the souls. Finally, the Latin hymn that is sung by the souls at the end, Regina Caeli, is Hail Queen of Heaven, a hymn to the Virgin Mary traditionally sung during the 7 weeks following Easter. That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.